Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, around 900 employees of fintech mortgage company Better.com, they were recently summoned to a Zoom meeting with their CEO, Vishal Garg. Some of these employees would later tell reporters that they were just expecting another corporate town hall. But this was no typical Zoom webinar. Instead, Garg logged into the Zoom as employees were still trickling in and announced that, quote, "If you're on this call, you are part of the unlucky group that is being laid off." Little was offered in the way of rationale. The entire meeting lasted just 3 minutes. Employees frantically trying to figure out what the hell just happened. They were immediately locked out of their email, their Slack channels, their company computers, their phones. In total, the mass Zoom firing affected at least 10% of Better.com's workforce, and in an especially brutal twist, came just before the holidays. Garg then assembled the remainder of the Better.com workforce and threatened their jobs as well, informing them that the coming year would be a, quote, bloodbath. Terrible, right? Heartless, inhumane, cruel. That's how any normal human being, I think, would process these events. But one host over at Fox News, she had a very different take.
To know that, because maybe he'll quit. Maybe he'll fire himself. Emily?
Go to CNN.
I loved this, actually. I loved this so much. The productivity of those 900 individuals averaged 2 hours a day, even though they were paid for 8. And I understand the indelicate nature of this, but part of my role as a federal attorney when I was managing an acting director was terminating individuals, and I did it with the utmost respect and care. But I also had to do it with a lot of security measures in place. I love that for 900 people, he stayed safe, and he let them know that their theft was no longer tolerated. So for me, good riddance, and I feel bad that he's now having to capitulate to the other execs at his company and apologize for it. Sorry, guys, bye. For all of them, they're snowflakes. They're probably millennials and Zs. Yep.
Very surprising.
They need to learn work ethic. That's
Emily's tough.
Emily's tough. We're on the opposite
Tight ship,
side
guys.
of this.
Tight ship.
And for those people on the call who are the exceptions
These
to what he
lawyers.
accused them of, they all have lawsuits.
I'm with Brian, though.
I mean, they do. I mean, if he accused them of not doing what they're supposed to be doing and all that, and there were receipts, that's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, but this guy...
But I like the bravado. I like having the debate. I hope his pockets are deep.
To Brian's point, though, this guy in court documents, it was alleged that he wanted to staple someone to the wall or a door, whatever it was. I mean, this guy has some pretty big issues. Just like be nice to your employees.
Maybe they were safe from him, not being safe from them. More outnumbered after this.
Now, there are a few things I really enjoyed about Emily's comments there. First of all, she does that thing of just throwing together a bunch of conservative buzzwords and cultural tropes in hopes that her points are going to land with a Fox audience. The employees are a bunch of snowflakes, probably a bunch of millennials and Zs. They need to learn work ethic. Nothing like pampered, rich TV hosts lecturing the youths of America about work ethic. Also, snowflake discourse is so 2016. Emily should really have worked more contemporary references like the woke mob into her justification of rich assholes behaving like rich assholes. Second, she just repeats this claim, which came directly from that CEO of the company, that the 900 fired workers were only working 2 hours per day. Garg had written as much on an internet forum where he claimed that those employees were then stealing from the company. This appears to be categorically false, as Harris Faulkner sort of delicately suggests there. Employees who had just recently been praised for their work ethic and who had recently been promoted, they were terminated. And Garg apparently doesn't think much of the remaining staff either, by the way. He'd previously derided the entire workforce as, quote, dumb dolphins, and there was that whole threatening a bloodbath thing as well. In reality, the layoffs were not at all the fault of the workers. Better.com staffed up massively while mortgage lending was going gangbusters. Now that rates have started to tick back up a bit, the pace of new mortgages and refis has slowed. And that's left Better.com in a very tough spot as they move towards a public offering. That's not the fault of the employees, but it does kind of suggest some poor planning on the part of management. Finally, I enjoy the discomfort of the other Fox hosts on set here. It's Kayleigh McEnany and Harris Faulkner. Emily's gleeful and celebratory reaction is in some ways more honest, because if you truly buy into the glory of the full-on unfettered capitalism program, mass capricious firings based on shifts in market winds, well, that's exactly what you have to be down for. You have to be ready to celebrate, as Emily does, 900 jobs lost and lives destroyed because the mortgage rates happen to tick up 0.5 point. Or in another example, the decimation of American small towns and cities because free trade demands it. You have to then turn around and argue that those who lost their livelihoods, that they don't deserve any safety net or help getting back on their feet, let alone medical care. And if you're upset about any of these things, then you are a lazy snowflake. It's quite telling, after all, that while the CEO has been made to apologize for his insensitivity and take a leave of absence while the board engages in some BS analysis of workplace culture, the layoffs are still going forward. The board didn't have an issue with the firings. They just had a problem with the indelicacy of how it was all done. They wanted 900 people to lose their jobs before Christmas. They just wanted it done with more decorum. I mean, does it really matter to you whether your job-ending Zoom call was done one-on-one with an HR professional in 30 minutes or in a mass meeting with the CEO in 3 minutes? Ultimately, the end result is the same. Now, there's a few other things that you should know about Better.com's CEO that speaks to the sort of people who succeed in our grand meritocracy here and those who get fired in mass Zoom meetings. That also speaks to what exactly Emily is celebrating. Garg has been sued for fraud repeatedly by his business partners and his former friends. He's been accused of siphoning millions into his personal accounts in several different complex business deals involving shell companies in the Cayman Islands. In a deposition over one of these claims of betrayal and fraud, Garg turned to his former best friend and informed him he was going to staple him against an effing wall and burn him alive. In Garg's Disney version of Better.com's founding, he started the company when he and his fiancée lost out on a home because of a cumbersome mortgage process. According to the allegations of former associates, Better.com was actually launched with illicit money siphoned into Garg's accounts using stolen technology. And yet, in spite of all of that, or perhaps because of it, Garg is a billionaire. As John Steinbeck once wrote, "The things we admire in men, kindness and generosity, openness, honesty, understanding, and feeling, are the concomitants of failure in our system. And those traits we detest, sharpness, greed, acquisitiveness, meanness, egotism, and self-interest, are the traits of success. And while men admire the quality of the first, they love the produce of the second." Emily's delight in these firings might have been unseemly to watch, but her ideology runs the country, elevates the liars, the thieves, and the cruel to the very top, and pretending that those who aren't willing to cheat their way to the 0.1% are the ones with the moral failings. Pretty interesting comments there.
Yeah.
You know, just playing to just going full in on, hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.